First Corinthians 13, verse 1. If I speak in the tongues of men and of angels, but not have love, I am a noisy gong or a clanging cymbal. Now I need you to sit with that for a second, because that verse isn't just about love in the way you think. It's about substance. It's about action. It's about the difference between sounding good and being good. Today, we're going to talk about all the sounding brass and tingling cymbals in our communities that we keep mistaking for leadership. Let's do it. All right. Last episode, we talked about the monster and the jellyfish, the politicians who fail us on both sides. But here's what I didn't get into, and it's something that's been eating at me. It's not just politicians. It's pastors, it's activists, community leaders, influencers, anybody with a microphone. Sorry. I didn't want that coming at me again. And see, we have this thing, and it's even in the black community. Pretty much it's everywhere, where we fall in love with personality, somebody who speaks well or speaks our culture. We follow them. Somebody who fires up a room, we trust them. Somebody quotes scripture with authority. Oh, we give them the keys to everything, and we never stop to ask, what are you actually doing? It's a trap. And I call it the personality trap, because once you fall in, it's hard to see your way out. Let's start with what I consider the most important, the pulpit, because that's where it hits closest to home for a lot of us. The black church has been the backbone of our community for generations. It's where movements were born. It's where leaders were made. It's sacred ground, and I respect it. In fact, I love it. Somewhere along the line or along the way, the pulpit stopped being about the people and started being about the pastor. Take, for instance, I know this is going to cost me a lot of people, so I'm already prepared. But let's talk about Jamal Bryant. And I want to be clear, I'm not here to tear this man down. As a human being, I am here to question some of the things he's done. And it's a question that a lot of people in the church don't want to ask. Except Geno Jennings. He has another agenda. Can he fire up a room? Oh, he might be the best. Is he an eloquent speaker? Oh, absolutely. Does he know the Bible? Inside and out. The man can preach. But at this point, all I hear is a sounding brass and a tinkling cymbal. What has the eloquence produced? What has the fire built? What structures exist in the communities he served that weren't there before? What programs are running? What lives have been materially changed? Not emotionally moved on Sunday morning, but materially changed by his leadership. Because there's a difference between making someone feel something and actually doing something. And we've confused the two for way too long. But it's not just Bryant. It's the mega church culture as a whole. Pastors in designer suits, private jets, book deals, speaking tours, $1 million homes, and the congregation, the people tithing 10% of the money they barely have, especially in this wonderful economy. And what do they get? They get a good sermon, a feeling, a moment. And here's the thing. Jamal Bryant has had his moments where he has given to his congregation, but those moments are few and far between. Meanwhile, in the neighborhood around the church, everything looks the same like it did 20 years ago. The schools are still failing. The hospitals are still closing. The housing is still crumbling. But the pastor got a new Bentley. And nobody's allowed to question it because he's anointed. And people will say, touch not my anointed. Do my prophet no harm. No. That's not what that scripture meant. You're allowed to question the leader. You're allowed to question these pastors. He's not my pastor. He's not my leader. And all it is asking questions and pushing the same way you would of any political leader. In fact, pastors hold a more important role to people of faith because whereas the politician has control over my daily life, the pastor, well, he's in charge of leading my soul. And to me, that's of greater importance. So now let's look at activists, the community leaders, the ones with the bullhorns and the hashtags and the press conferences. Every time there's a crisis, a shooting, an injustice, a moment of national outrage, you see the same faces show up, the same voices, the same press conference, and they say the right things. They say the powerful things. They lead the march. They trend on social media. And then what? What happens after the cameras leave? What happens after the hashtag stops trending? What structure was built? What policy was changed? What community was protected? You see, back in the day, during the civil rights movement, there was a strategy that was employed that had long-lasting change. Whether it be the Montgomery bus boycott, whether it be the marches on Selma, whether it be the March on Washington, these events had long, historic ramifications, long term. What we see nowadays is people will go out there, and quite frankly, I'm all for the protest and I'm all for the activism. I think it's what we need in our communities. We give up so fast. Because after the dust is settled, after the smoke is cleared, and after the press has moved on to their next big story, has the community been fundamentally changed by what you've done? And here's what really gets me. A lot of these leaders have turned activism into a career, a personal brand. They're not fighting for the people anymore. They're fighting for the spotlight, the book deal, the CNN appearance, the speaking fee. The movement that was our movement has become their movement, about them and about their name, their face, their legacy. And the minute you question them, the minute you say, hey, what have you actually delivered? We're still fighting. Why are you moving on? You're the enemy. You're the sellout. You're tearing down your own people. Nah, I'm trying to hold my own people accountable. There's a difference. And it goes even wider than that. It's the influencers who discovered the social justice content gets clicks. It's the podcasters who figured out that outrage gets downloads. It's the authors who realize Black pain sells books. It's anyone and everyone who looked at the struggle and said, hey, how do I build my brand off this? You see, it's everywhere. People who weren't in the movement 5 years ago are now the voice of the movement. Not because they've earned it, not because they sacrificed for it, but because they figured out the algorithm. They figured out the tone. And this goes political too, because you see people switching back and forth depending on where the wind blows. I mean, I was a huge fan of the Young Turks news program. They were the first real leftists that I saw podcast form. But the moment they felt the wind was blowing to MAGA, they hitched their wagons to them and tried to explain it away. Well, we want to, they want the same things we do. They feel the same way we do. No, they're racist. They're bigots. They're horrible. And watching Anna Kasparison disparage trans people, watching Cenk Uygur really try to justify this MAGA switch or this semi-MAGA switch, it saddened me because I trusted them. I believed in them. They were activists, they were news people, and they spoke to the needs of a people or an idea that felt like it was dying in this country. And then they turned their backs. And then the moment they realized once again that MAGA is full of skinheads, Klansmen, and idiots, they want to come back and embrace the left again and say they never left, their ideas never changed. And again, I've watched Anna talk crap about the most marginalized people in this country. I've seen staff leave TYT, people who I watch there, because they changed their brand and they spoke out against the direction they were going in. Jimmy Dore, a couple years ago, did the exact same thing. He realized his algorithm was better if he attacked Biden and sided with MAGA because MAGA was hot. Joe Rogan, who's not an activist, but a podcaster who was kind of like on the edge, went full MAGA on his podcast. And he can't find his way out. Because these people have such influence and their voice carries weight to the ignorant. And again, you can say, well, you're a hypocrite. I don't want my voice to carry weight. The one thing that I want more than anything from my podcast to you is for you to do the work, to do the research. That's what I've been saying about both parties. That's what I've been saying about look at the primaries, not the general, because that's the moment you ask the questions. That's the moment you make it difficult. I've been trying to give you my point of view in things I think we need to do in order to push this country forward. And I've always said, you can agree with me, you can disagree with me, but let's have the discussion. But those grifters, they just want your money. I'm not asking for your money. I could care less. I have a good job. But here's what I got to turn the camera around, and I do have to look at myself. Because it isn't just about them, it's about us, it's about me. I've been guilty of the personality trap. Like I said, I followed people because they spoke well. I've donated money because a sermon moved me. I've shared posts because someone said something so powerful in the moment that it really touched my heart. And I never once asked, what did that actually produce? What changed? Where did my money go? Where did my energy go? We hold politicians accountable. Well, the ones we don't worship. At least we should. Hold everyone accountable. I don't care if it's Donald Trump or Barack Obama. They should all be held accountable when they do something horrible. But we give pastors a pass. We give activists a pass. We give community leaders a pass because they're one of us. Because they speak our language. Because they make us feel seen. And feeling seen is powerful. I get it. But feeling seen and being served are two different things. Your pastor making you cry on Sunday doesn't pay your rent on Monday. An activist trending on Twitter doesn't stop the next shooting. An influencer posting a black square doesn't build a community center. We need to start asking the hard questions, not because we want to tear people down, but because we deserve better. We deserve leaders who produce results, not performances. So here's what I want you to take from this. Next time someone stands in front of you in a church, at a rally, on your phone screen, or on a stage, and they move you with their words, good. Let yourself be moved. Words are powerful tools. They are. But then ask the question, what are you building? Not what are you saying? What are you building? What policy are you pushing? What structure are you creating? What is different in this community because of your leadership? Show me the receipts. Because I don't need another speech. Don't need another sermon. I don't need another hashtag. I need results. I need structure. I need someone who's more interested in changing my neighborhood than changing their net worth. And if you can't show me what you've built, I don't care how good you sound. Because you're a sounding brass and a tingling cymbal. Beautiful noise with nothing behind it. Stop worshiping personality. Start demanding policy. Stop following the voice. Start checking the vision. Stop falling into the personality trap. Because the trap isn't them. The trap is us believing that charisma is the same as change. It's not. It never was. I'm not here to tear anyone down. I'm here to raise the standard. And the standard is simple. Show me what you've done, not what you've said. What you've done. And you can quote me on that.
If what you heard just hit you, don't treat it like background noise. Don't scroll past it. Follow the link in the description and subscribe to the Quote to Smoke podcast. Leave a comment too. Disagreement is welcome here. We talk, we listen. That's the point. No filter, just fire.
No filter, this fire.